You-
Didn't mean to click that button, but
Cheers.
having an invite
Appreciate it.
just for fun.
Yeah. Um, I'd actually find the link. Is it actually? It is live. Cool. Right. Cool. Right. Welcome back to F1 League of South Africa. We're here for round two of Tier One. I'm not alone this week, thank God. It was horrible last week. Just tried to think of stuff to talk about. In an empty room as I was trying to move out. Yeah.
I'll take that as my cue to say hello. Yes, good to
Yeah.
be.
Yeah. I'm so rusty, man.
Yeah, it's good to be back. Been 18 or so months away, but finally able to get back with an F1 game that I enjoy, and looking forward to seeing some LSA action once again.
With less DRS trains, that was the problem last game. Um, Especially around Britain, for some reason, it created loads of DRS trains, although it had a lot of corners, which makes no sense. The bit I like about Britain falling as round two is that it aligns with the real life calendar, because we've got the British Grand Prix this weekend, and for the first time in a while, I think we're expecting 20 drivers. We've only got 18 in the lobby right now, but I'm pretty sure we are expecting 20, which is always a great thing, especially for this early in the game cycle.
Yeah, it's a full lobby in line with the calendar, but the one difference being we'll be doing Silton's Day in reverse. We will not be doing things simply. And by the sounds of the chat before today's race, before the lobby was up, a lot of drivers are expecting absolute chaos.
Yeah, indeed. We'll have a couple of people join the session late. William Jonas power went out, so average South Africa shenanigans and Brian's finally in the lobby. So we will have 20 drivers, and the first few start to go out onto track, and Skull is the lead car right now. And with the track being in reverse, Maggots and Beckett's is a whole different challenge. Also, how tyre wear is affected will be hugely different because the load will be put onto other tyres than the forward. I'm already confused. Is what
Well,
I'm
yeah,
trying to say.
I mean, I'm a tell I've not driven any of the reverse tracks. Yeah, I've watched a few videos on them, and everyone seems to say the challenge compared to Silverstone, the normal way around, it's like an entire different track. The entire sector one is just so much more flowing, but also in terms of racing, a lot harder to put challenges in the normal spots. So whilst qualifying is same as always, get those fast times in and show what you can do on your own. When you get to the actual race, it's an entirely different challenge for the drivers.
I was commentating a race yesterday in HRA, which a few people in this league are part of. That was around Netherlands in reverse, and one thing it did it it didn't create was good racing. Um, it it's one of the examples of why the tracks are driven in the way they should be, and I think just Netherlands could be just an anomaly in that as a lockup there for Siphon going into the Vale chicane as turn one is going to get a lot. It's going to take a lot of getting used to. and Cop's going left rather than right as well. Not Cop's, Stowe. I'm already losing the plot.
There we go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very much in PTs, we are going to get these corner names and numbers wrong constantly as we try to keep up with where we actually are on the track.
Yeah,
So
it's now Chapel, Beckett's and Maggots now, rather than Beckett's and Chapel.
We'll make our apologies now and get it out of the way so that anyone blames us. We've already covered our arse.
One thing that is interesting about this reverse layout is that after Cops, which is now a left-hander, there's a DRS zone that goes all the way through to Luffield.
Yes, there's extra bit of speedways, which is obviously not normally there heading into Cops because that would be murder. Yeah, it just helped that flowing through. I love it as well. I think we're going to see a lot of people send some audacious dives or move around the outside.
I mean, even Maggots and Beckett's is... from when I've driven it, it's a lot easier to take. It's more flowing. You don't have to lift off anywhere near as much. As Siphon sets the pace with 128.1. That's immediately beaten by Spinnercop, who had some great pace last time out. He sits at 26.8 and currently 7/10 clear of Skilly and Skull, who's just ahead of Siphon. G3 also had some great pace last week. He's up into second from the Mercedes. As the times will start to shrink. The gap last week, I'm pretty sure, is a second that covers the top 15. So it's very competitive in Tier 1 this season. Testament to how much better this game is compared to the last game.
There's Don Vico in the Aston Martin pole, I believe.
He did.
He is now over in the Kick Sauber this week. We're not going to have necessarily an Aston Martin 1-2, although Japes maybe will want to put himself there with Franz, our winner last time out. But yes, the battle for pole is going to be, it could be anyone's, and speaking of there is Don Vico's time going just behind his teammate.
Sauber 1-2 right now then. Sauber have picked up some pace in real life, which is always nice to see. It's always, you know, they're one of the traditional teams in F1 who aren't owned by a big car brand like Ferrari or Mercedes.
I'm fully on board the Borsletta hype train. That is my boy.
Yeah, I've been watching him since he was in Frecker. So he wasn't as good in Frecker as he was in F3, but he's always had something, and it's good to see a Brazilian doing well on the grid. As we start to see some times come in, Trev Parr's currently in 12th, so he'll be wanting to find a better lap than he did. Spikes has gone behind him in with a 29.9, 1.3 off of the next car, and Gunner goes into 4th place. But one thing I was saying last week is that there is a massive gap on this grid right now, and that is Fori no longer being with us. Something that happened and it shocked the world, really. Well, shocked the LSA world and DHRA world. But hopefully the racing still continues to Fori's standards as it has done. But yeah,
Indeed.
It's a shame to not see him here, because he would be right up there in the battle for pole, which is currently held by Franz as normality resumes.
Yeah, giving everyone their chance to set their times, and Franz is coming with nope, now follow me.
A couple people out of place, I would like to say, is Skull can get a good lap in when he wants to. At the moment, he'll know he can get a better lap in than what is currently 14th. But at the moment, 1.8 separates the top 14. So last week in Australia, it was a shorter track and a faster track, so the gap might be bigger this week. But 1.8 covering 14 cars, you know, the league is not necessarily a bad thing.
No, especially with the reverse layout, it's a brand new challenge for all these guys. And that, so a few of these guys who haven't got as much practice as they would have liked beforehand, their times will massively drop, either in this quality session as they get a few more laps in, or especially during the race as they become more comfortable with the layout of Silverstone in reverse.
Whistler's starting his flying lap. We're waiting on the laps of Brian, who goes to the line and goes 12th. And the only other two yet to set a lap are Skylar Sims and Whistler. Skylar Sims will be next to set his first lap time in the 99 Williams. Skylar was up into the top 5 for a lot of last race, and it all kind of fell away at the end, given the chaos of that race, really. He'll be looking to try and stay within the top 5. Picked up a lot more pace this game compared to last game. It's good to see them up there as we go on the run to what is the final couple of corners here. And Skylar's the line. This looks an okay lap. Goes to the line, goes 8th fastest, so they'll be happy with that so far. So just waiting on that Whistler, who's coming through the last part of the middle sector now.
Skylar's another one on the lap. This is someone that you talked about could get time. At the moment, 32 seconds, he's only up by less than a tenth. He's not finding that time just yet. Maybe he can pull something out in the 3rd sector. But right now, he's not quite feeling comfortable with this qualifying session.
Whistler to the line then, goes 11th fastest. Not a bad lap time at all from Whistler. He was one to be towards the back of the Tier 1 grid last game, and it's good to see that he's finding his way up the order. Taking some confidence out of the first round. He had showed some pace, but I can't exactly remember where he finished because it had a lot there's a lot that's happened between just in this week, to be honest. Moving house has kind of just taken it all out, you know, taken up a lot of my memory. But after the first runs of qualifying so far, Franz and Jonas will be on the front row ahead of Spinnercop, Gunner, Don Ravico and G3. Then you got Glitch, Skylar Sim, Storming Thunderhead and Lamb Royal. Storming Thunderhead got a podium last time out for VCARB. It was a very good race for him. Whistler just outside the top 10 and 11th ahead of Pantry Star. Then Skilly played Brian, who had a bit of a round to forget last time out, picked up multiple penalties for a few collisions, and it wasn't a good race for Red Bull in general, to be honest. They'll be wanting to go better around Silverstone. Spikes in 15th, and a Siphon, Sticky Nicky. Then you got Skull, Japes, and Trespass, who's currently in last. He'll know he can get something better out of that Haas car. But this track is throwing up a bit of a challenge in the reverse, it has to be said. We've had a couple of yellow flags out so far, one in the final sector. I don't actually know what that is for.
A few drivers getting out of each other's way, people not quite realising where the pit entry is.
5-place grid penalty for Pantry Star for a collision with Gunner. So Pantry Star, who's currently in 13th, as it stands, will qualify 18th. G3 up to the front row then, 4/10 quicker on his lap. He'll be very happy with that, but no one can get near the lap time of Franz in the Aston Martin right now.
I didn't quite catch what happened there. I think that was the other flags that we saw in Sector 3 towards the end. I don't quite know what happened with Pantry and Gunner there.
I'm sure we'll get a clip soon, but at the moment that's something Pantry Star will have to deal with. I'm sure he'll complain about it, unless it was just completely his fault. Because, you know, the penalty system in the F1 games are just flawed at the best of times. So, yeah, next will be an Alpine. There's the Slow Williams. It's Skylar Sims. Not 100% sure what was happening there with the Williams. So, 6 minutes to go in this session.
Yeah, a fair few people I've noticed are looking to start their flying laps and immediately aborting them because turns 1 and 2 are proving really challenging and you can lose so much time immediately that you're aborting your lap before you even start it, really.
Well, they're challenging going the other way anyway. Going the normal way. That's what can make you break a lap. That's something beautiful about Silverstone. Is that the hardest part of the track is arguably the final part of it. Feeling that's where I sat in 2022 when I went to the actual race. Three goes Hamilton happened there. Right in front of me, little flex. slight flex. But yeah, no one can touch the lap time so far of Franz, seemingly untouchable right
Watch
now.
out for
Out
Siphon
front.
here, could be on for a bit of improvement. Yeah, he finds half a second because it's P9 in the McLaren.
Siphon had a decent round last time out, had some pace to show. Was running in the top 10 for most of it from what I remember. All about consistency is this league, and at the moment the top 6 of Don Rabico to Franz were, apart from Gunner, who wasn't here last week, were just untouchable really. Ferrari to the line, that was Pantry Star, 37.3.
Franz currently out on track for what you would believe would be his final lap, given only 4 minutes left of the session. He's currently up by a couple of attempts, so looking to extend his lead.
We'll go on board with him in the Aston Martin as he comes up to Luffield. Seems relatively hooked up through there as we go down the hangar straight.
He's down by 3 attempts. He has lost a lot of time in that second sector.
I think he'll abort here. I think he'll come into the pits here.
I think he has to.
Unless he finds a miracle of a final sector, but he doesn't necessarily need that miracle right now. Glitch goes up to third, great time.
Yeah, there he really goes.
The Alpine putting himself in contention here. Although you don't think he'll get another run in unless he gets a move on. He'll be cutting it close if he wants another run. But wherever the green might be now, Spinnercop didn't find an improvement on his lap. Yellow flag in sector 1. That is at Maggots and Beckett's.
That was Glitch getting out of the way of the McLaren. Not realising that the McLaren is oh yeah, that's Whistler. Is Whistler on that right now?
Yeah, Whistler is 2 tenths up through the first sector, so 2 tenths right now would put him into the top 10, ahead of Skilly in 9th actually. As we're going to start to see everyone come out to try and start the outlaps for their final laps of the session. Whistler might have found the perfect gap here actually, set his lap in, because he's not going to have any traffic towards the end of this lap, unlike a lot of the people who are just going to start it right at the end here. And Whistler, through the final section of this track, will go to the line. Does he find an improvement? Does Whistler to the line? Does go P9 and keeps that 2 tenths improvement.
Get ready
times
for
are coming down.
Final flurry. You can see just on board of this goes around the last corners. These 4 cars flying out the pit lane.
So Glitch is done. Glitch is coming into the pits. Pantry Star out of nowhere put his Ferrari up into 5th. He's carrying a penalty, of course, so that'll currently put him in 10th. Spikes has just started his lap. Just got everyone just starting their laps right now. Not really got anyone on their final run, apart from maybe Lamb Royal, who was one of the stars of the last race. Got very unlucky with track limits penalties. He knew there's a race win in there. Didn't quite get it. Lamb Royal this is an outlap actually, but it's just not showing properly. But Lamb Royal will be disappointed down in 14th after leading most of the race last time out.
We've got 5, 6 cars that are done. Glitch is done. Pantry Star is done. Spine Cup is done. Gunner is possibly done. He's on an outlap.
Gunner's on an outlap.
He's going to get into a fair bit of traffic in front of him. A nice bit of dirty air, which is a massive influence in this game. I mean, it sounds like a negative, that would be a big influence, but I actually quite enjoy the fact that you do have to be a bit more clever with how you follow cars this year.
There is a stopped car at on the exit of Cops. And that is not where Skull wanted to end up. He was up on his lap as well. So a yellow flag would have impeded a couple of drivers, including Skylar Sims, who's not finding a time. And it's a second down. So a load of these drivers would have had to lift.
Yeah, it's been a lap to forget for Skull, or a session to forget for Skull, really. Not found that
19th
time.
at best for him. Blade Bryan is up on his lap time, but although he didn't slow through the yellow flags, so there could be a penalty post-race for that, or at least a warning. But to the line for Blade Bryan, he's going to want to try and get off of the penultimate row of the grid. To the line then for the Red Bull driver, goes up to 11th fastest.
Watch GMZ here, currently second, he is up.
Oh, he's gone so close. 12 thousandths away. No, 18, I can't do maths. 18 thousandths away. Don Rabico up to third. Jonas is still on a lap, 2.5 tenths up. He's going to need to find something here to try and get to the front row. As it stands, he would only get fourth fastest. So the line does go fourth fastest. What about Gunner, who just keeps dropping and dropping in this session? Storm Thunderhead goes up to fifth. Gunner has invalidated his lap, so that is ninth at best for him. Skilly up to fifth for Alpine. That's a great lap. As we're waiting for a lap for Lamb Royal, down in 17th. That is an absolute shocker for Lamb Royal, who was comfortably one of the fastest drivers out there last race in Australia. He will be gutted without that time. And Franz is comfortably, I say comfortably, he's 3.5 tenths up, and that is a statement lap from Franz to take pole by 1.5 tenths. And he is the man to beat in the race.
Race winner last time out, pole position here. Get that man in testing. There's something illegal about that man's car.
I mean, Adrian Newey's on it at the moment, isn't he? So, must be the Adrian Newey effect. Not to take away anything from Franz. Always at the front in LSA. League he founded, of course. That man's going to take some beating today. He's going to want to go back to back. And I have to say, the big shock there is Lamb Royal all the way down in 17th. That's not where he wants to be. Haas, who did well last round, 17th and 20th on the grid, so it's going to have to be quite the recovery from Lamb Royal. But 1.1 second covers the top 17 here. That's testament to how quick these drivers are and how nailed on you need to be to get the maximum out of the car. Trev Powell will be disappointed with his lap. He knows there's more in there. So, I feel like it's going to be a one-stop strategy here, maybe. Well, maybe a two. The pit loss is only 20 seconds around here.
Yes, it's not as brutal as the normal way round. I think we're going to see a mix, because some people are going to have to try different things, but also the chaos that could come with people getting impatient, trying moves. There's plenty of opportunity for things to go a bit sideways and really open up the race for some people to try different things.
I am expecting a safety car to happen, maybe on lap 1, because turn 1 is, of course, that now a left-hander, which goes into a flat left-hander that goes into a very harsh braking zone for another left-hander. So, yeah, there's opportunities for error there, no matter what. But Jonas has currently selected the soft compound. You've got a couple of drivers on the hards, being Whistler, who's in 11th, and Skylar Sims in 16th. So, yeah, strategies could be vital for this race, but also just staying alive, to be honest, because one of the best things about having a new track format is the unknown of where the grip's going to be on long run pace, how the dirty air is going to act through different corners, and where as you said, where you can overtake, because it's going to be vastly different.
Yeah, anyone that's starting on that soft tyre is most certainly committing to a two-stop. Where the others go, interesting to see. Some of these hard guys might try and just go for that. Stay out there, wait for chaos. Something will come up and fall your way. If not, you're high risk, high reward.
If we get an intervention, we'll definitely get a two-stop. Especially if we get one early on. But if you start, there could be a strategy to starting on the softs here and hoping for an early intervention, and then go on to a two-stop where you don't have to use the hards. Although the hards are a very good tyre inside this game, especially on career mode. But that might just be me, and I'm not as fast as any of these drivers here in Tier 1, so...
Oh yeah, I think it should be pointed out we are vehemently commentating on guys that are way faster than we are.
Yeah, there's a reason we're in the commentary booth, not on track. Apart from us not being South African.
We know our place.
Yeah. I miss EFR, man.
I won my one title in EFR and legged it. That's it. I'm done. Did a Rosberg.
I was looking at stuff the other day. I was speaking to Franz about it. I had the best record for a non-race winner.
Our little Nico Hulkenberg.
Yeah, but I didn't have a pole. I didn't have a race win, but I had the most podiums out of someone who didn't win, and I had the highest points tally out of someone who didn't win it as well. But that would have all been different given a Spain race didn't get reset with 4 laps to go. And it was me and Kevin, when we were both in the Haas, we were 1-2, it's clear of everybody. And still, it's the biggest robbery in league racing ever. But that's me being salty 4 years later, so yeah. I've gone and graduated before then. I have hated Spain until this ever since then. Anyway, we should be underway shortly for 26 laps around Silverstone in reverse. Obviously, in real life, they're racing the other way around this weekend, actually, with Formula 1, Formula 2, Formula 3, and GB4 all at the circuit this weekend. First time 4 tiers of motorsport are racing at the same circuit. At the moment, we've got LSA as we go to 5 red lights for the British Grand Prix in reverse. And lights around, away we go. It's a good start from France once again. But as we're going to look into turn 1, this is where we're going to see a lot of carnage, I'm sure, because of this harsh braking zone after a flat left-hander. As side by side is Jonas and Skilly. Sorry, that's Skilly and Thunderhead. And there's someone gone off in the back. I think that is Glitch in the Alpine, who's on all over the grass. And that's something we expected to happen. Lamb Royal and Trevpower already making places in their Haas cars, who started 17th and 20th. Trevpower actually getting ahead of his teammate. And a lot of stuff is happening. Don Rabico is already up into 2nd place in the Sauber. And he's going to have to try and follow Franz for the rest of this, as we've got G3 in 3rd, Jonas in 4th, Skilly 5th, Thunderhead in 6th, ahead of Spinningcop, Gunner, Pantry and Siphon rounding out the top 10. As we got a little bit side by side going on behind that is Spikes thinking about something, but just ahead of them we've got Skull going side by side with the Haas car of Lamb Royal. and it's almost going to make contact with the Aston Martin there as it almost goes 3 wide through left field. As we're going to turn right onto the hangar straight now, and it's been a first lap of a lot of position changes, mainly because no one knows where to put their car in a lot of these corners for the opening lap.
Yeah, a lot of action going, especially on the Haas drivers, who have thrown themselves up to 12 and 13th. Scott as well, constantly going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, doesn't quite know where he wants to be. Up at the front, yeah, Don Rabbit did fantastically well to get into P2. The difference between the medium and the hard tyres, and he got just a fantastic launch over GMZ off start, and he's already putting that gap out. Already a second and a half between Rabico and GMZ. So this is going to be Rabico and France running away at the start of this race. Jonas will probably look to try and get past as quickly as he can and try and stick with our runaway leaders. Yeah, that's the difference at the moment of the mediums versus the hards. There's several cars that are in the pit lane.
Yeah, Whistler, Japes, Glitch and Brian must have all got some damage on lap 1. It's extremely early to be making a pit stop, as we do have a little bit of side by side. Nope, it was just the mini-map being a bit funny. It looked like, oh, a massive snap there, but that is Thunderhead, and we just caught that on the main feed as he tried to let him move on Skilly, and he just got it all wrong, just almost going into a full spin, but did very well to keep his car under control eventually. As we're going to start to see these trains unfold now, as we go into the final sector of lap 2. Franz out front by 7/10. He's going to try and eke that out a little bit more. And you have to feel for the likes of Whistler, Japes, Brian and Glitch. Glitch especially, who made a big mistake on lap 1. I didn't actually see it, but lost a lot of time and picked up damage.
Yeah, Franz off track at turn 3. And yeah, so 4 people, 5 now with Lamb Royal coming into the pit as well. Must have picked up some damage somewhere. There's 5 people who have not had the ideal start and are almost certainly going to have to 2-stop. But you never know, we're only a few laps in. Chaos could always unfurl and bring them back into the safety car. So whilst it's not the ideal start, you know, it's a long way to go in this race.
Yeah, it is a front wing change for Lamb Royal. We was on about how good the starts of the Haas were. We kind of jinxed that a little bit with Lamb Royal. But Trepar from last on the grid up to 12th so far. So he's having a good day for the Haas crew. As the smallest gap right now is Storming Thunderhead on the back of Skilly. V-Cub versus the Alpine for 5th place. Yeah, it's been a slow start to this race, it has to be said, for what the racing usually is. But I guess that's proximity to the walls being a bit wider than Australia, because we'd already had an intervention by now.
Don Rabico must have made a mistake somewhere. He has suddenly dropped a second to Franz, and now our race leader can storm away. But he was really close, so somewhere in the middle of this lap, Rabico has made a rather costly mistake.
Yeah. He's now going to fall into clutches of Jonas. He's going to try and pick up DRS from the Sauber car. Rabico, he obviously got pole last week. He did made a couple of errors, which essentially cost him the race win in the end. He decided to go long on safety cars, and it just meant he had no pace compared to the leaders. And I don't think he'll try and replicate those errors going into this race. But errors already starting to creep in for the Sauber driver. He's one of the reserves right now, and at the moment he's becoming a full-time reserve because he's had both the races so far. He's found himself in a seat. So I'm intrigued to see what Don Rabico does the rest of this race. Whistler's back in the pits, so I'm intrigued to see what's happened there. That's his second trip to the pit lane. And it's the second change of a front wing.
A disastrous start to the race for the McLaren driver. Going to find himself closer to Franz than to P19.
This track already providing a couple of issues, and Whistler and Siphon having a bit of mixed fortune. Siphon running up into the top 10. Whistler has got a long way to go in this race from P20. He's going to be praying for an intervention of a safety car or a red flag to try and get himself back into some sort of contention for some points. Off the road goes Brian into the grass. Just caught that one. As we just look towards the front of the field again, Franz eking out his lead as we predicted, but side by side nearly are Cypher and Skylar Sims, and I'm pretty sure it will happen after Stowe. A bit of a wide line there for Cypher and Skylar Sims is going to want to try and get in the DRS, and we could see a change for P10 here as Skylar Sims goes to the inside at Chapel, and that is 10th place for the Williams car.
Fantastic move on those hard tyres, which right now still going to be slightly slower, but to power that DRS and having a good line through Stowe, gave him everything he needs to get past Siphon. But again, those mediums are still the faster tyre, so Siphon's not going to let it go without a fight back.
There's almost another move happened just ahead of that. Pantry Star looked for an option on Gunner, couldn't find it, and instead ran slightly wide on the exit of Cops. Storming Thunderhead has left the session. There's some connectivity issues.
That's an awful fun disconnect. He just made a fantastic move at the start of this lap to get up into P5 on Skilly and was closing the gap on GMZ, but now his AI is going to unfortunately throw all that away, so Skilly's going to get that straight back. You can imagine into turn 1, and it creates a bit of a buffer now for the top 4. They all try and get past the AI of Storming.
Down the inside, gets it done. Storming Thunderhead would have been looking for. This is where we're rusty.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it was going so well up until then. But Storming Thunderhead looking for back-to-back podiums, and at the moment, with him being out of the session, it's going to be quite difficult. 3 wide, almost contact. There is contact. There's the Sauber and Gunner, Spinnacock and Gunner, kind of boxing Thunderhead in, and I'm going to be intrigued to see if Thunderhead does have damage, which he does. So him not being in the session has given him damage, and it's going to be a lot of work for the V-Carb drivers to do once he gets back in.
And it's actually caused chaos behind as well, because I don't know if you caught it there. Pantry Star going into Cops went into the back of Storming, which then caused Sky to go to the back of Pantry Star, and now Siphon's all over the back of it. It's caused a massive Constantino effect where
Siphon with a lovely move down the inside of Skylar there. That was an instinctive move, is what I like to call it, as Pantry Star is going to finally get ahead of the V-Carb. Now, I'll be intrigued to see whether the V-Carb decides to come into the pits with its damage or not here. As around the outside goes Siphon. This is for 9th place on the V-Carb. And this should be a procession, and it is. So Storming Thunderhead, who's one of the stories of last race on debut, getting a podium in Tier 1, does stay out in the end. So as just behind Trev Park, trying to get past Skylar Sims. Skylar Sims not wanting to fight that too much. Skylar Sims also has a bit of damage on the Williams. There's no front left end plate on that car.
yeah, exactly where he went into the back of Pantry Star after Pantry went into the back of Thunderheads. There's a
Thunderhead's
bit
going
of
to drop
chaos.
out of the points here. Trev Park up into the points from the back of the grid. It's been a fantastic opening stint for the Haas driver. And exactly what he needs, just a little bit of confidence to take forward in this race, and the Red Bull Sticky gets past Storming Thunderhead now as well, so this is going to turn into a bit of a procession for the VCAL driver and the Williams of Skylar Sims, who's just gone wide on the exit of Cops.
Yeah, it seems to be an internet crash for Thunderhead, so who knows if and when he'll be back in. But yes, that's opened up the gap from 4th to 5th. It was before the disconnect. It was just about to creep under a second. It's now down to 2.2. The one gap that has closed though is Jonas has got right up behind Don Rabico.
Don Rabico fallen 4 seconds off of Franz in the lead. The problem with Franz will have is when he boxes. Does he box early? I don't think he would, because I think Franz has got the option to stay out long here and not have to box into traffic and maybe go for the Grand Slam here.
So I think the
Um,
benefit of having that 4 second gap is he hasn't to worry too much about an undercut. If Ravnica tries to go early and force his hand, Fran's got at least a lap to react with that gap.
yeah, exactly. Also, he doesn't need to box early and get stuck in traffic, which could so easily happen when the grid is this tightly packed. As we've got multiple fights, Skylar Sims decided to get rid of his damage, and he's going to come out in the way ahead of Whistler, of course, but in this fight with Glitch and Ryan, or just behind this, so it's going to turn into a fairly nice undercut for these for the people who got damage on lap 1, but obviously they are going to have to box again. Lam Royal, if you notice, has got 8 seconds to Japes behind.
Yeah,
Quite an impressive feat.
the Powerball and the medium was the hard still. Dave did also, after on his out now by his clock, had a sort of a dodgy moment going through the final few corners, which probably hasn't helped. But yeah, those guys that are at the back are praying for some sort of safety car. As is probably everyone else if they want to stop Franz from getting this, at the moment, fairly comfortable win.
5 second gap out front then. The fight for P2, however, is well and truly alive, with Jonas and Don Rabico who are going to go to battle here. The VCARB had a very good round last time out. I believe they picked up a double podium, or at least really good points, or if it wasn't, something happened later on which I can't remember. Stalling Thunderhead needs an invite. How do I do this? I do not actually have him, which is unfortunate.
You ever see what I can do?
So, I don't know if he's back in, but he is falling even more now. But you're seeing how close into the pits. By the way, Pantry Star in the Ferrari is the first out of the top runners to decide to come into the pits, which is on lap 10 or lap 9 of 10. Well, so far. Oh, damage as well for Pantry Star, which everyone seems to have damage as they come into the pits, and Spikes has decided to stack. We won't get the entire stat, but both Ferraris in this lap. It's going to get held up a little bit of Spikes, who also has damage, so everyone seems to be picking up damage in this race. Except Franz has got a 6 second lead up front. And Jonas is just trying to stay with Don Rabico. This is where we could see the strategy start to be quite important.
I think to keep an eye as well, we're going to start seeing with the crossover now, the hard tyres are going to be the better tyres. So GMZ has been slowly bringing that gap down, come down about 7/10 over the last lap and a bit. So those guys in the mediums are going to be struggling and going to be pitting within the next couple of laps.
One of the fun facts we've had so far, what we've got so far, out of everybody who has boxed so far, none of them have pit without changing their front wing. So that's 7 people who have pit. 8 people, sorry, who have pit and changed their front wing. We'll see if Skull maintains that trend as he comes in for the Williams crew.
When you think as well, Whistler's come in twice, he's done 2 front wings.
Yeah. It's a good day for 10 and a half plus front wing lost in this, you know. If you're a gambling man,
She's got the over under on front wings.
Yeah. Yeah, Skull does change the course of that though. He did not change his front wing and comes out in 14th behind Pantry Star. So I'm intrigued to see how Pantry Star does on the opening part of his stint. But now we're all ahead, 3.5 seconds up the road. Yeah, it looks like there's just gaps forming all over here. Don Ravico continues on because Maloom Jonas is into the pits going for a nice undercut here. So we could see, this is an important pit stop for the course of this race. The number 11 V-Carb. We're going to want to try and come out in that gap ahead of Siphon. I don't think he will though. Going ahead of Sticky, but they've come into the pits anyway. So Jonas is going to be the lead car on of those who have pit so far then.
And he's going to come out into a nice bit of clean air, no one around him. And really pumping this out lap. And yeah, try and get that undercut on Don Rabico.
Don Rabico is reacting though, using all of his ERS to try and stay ahead. We'll soon find out which one was the better idea. Franz seemingly having nothing to worry about. 8 seconds out front. The way it's going, he's going to eke out enough to be able to get a free pit stop at the end of this race to go for a glory run.
There's a very Oscar Piastri-esque driving Franz at the moment. Got that lead, drove off, and hasn't really got to worry about what's going on behind him. He can just set the pace, control it, not stress himself out too much.
And he has lapped Whistler, so he's lapped a car on lap 13, which is impressive. We don't need to talk about Whistler's race up until this point.
I think we still prefer that we didn't.
Yeah. So we'll say it's just Franz being good. Gunnar and Don Rabico... No, Gunnar stays out, sorry. Don Rabico's in with Skilly, Spinnicop and Siphon. Now, this is the interesting bit. Where will Don Rabico come out in comparison to Maloom Jonas? This is for the fight for P2, for a net P2 here. Jonas has got him on the initial part of the track, but this is an interesting exit, and it looks like Jonas is going to get him. And that's an undercut that was very successful for the V-Car team.
Fantastic down lap from Jonas there. Yeah, coming at 2 seconds clear of a man that he was behind.
Jonas looking at a comfortable P2 now. Rabico in 5th on track, but 3rd net. I'm excited to see what G3MZ does on those hard, and see how long into this race he can go. Could just try and hold it out here, and hope for something. Kicking up a bit of dust there actually was G3. Franz into the pits. This basically confirms he will not get the Grand Slam unless G3 decides to pit, which he doesn't. So G3
Come on,
will
20 seconds stop for Franz, please.
I was praying for the Grand Slam, but it's not going to happen now.
Can we just Daniel Ricciardo and Monaco this? Just forget his tyres.
Franz comfortably out then in 2nd. Now G3 is going to hope for a safety car. So to make this race interesting, G3, just stay out as long as you can, mate. Lap 20 on the... You can go to lap 20 on those hards, I reckon. You definitely can't, but...
This would mean
for the culture.
The time that Jonas had... So the time that Franz built at the front, you know, even with Jonas getting a 2-lap undercut, the gap is still 6 seconds. And there is the yellow flags. What's happened?
I think that was a V-Carb struggling to come into the pits.
That BR still disconnected to Thunderhead.
I think his AI just drifted wide a little bit and hit the wall. So, a great round last time out for Storm and Thunderhead is going to not end up with no points. As we still have all 20 cars in this race, somehow. And somehow Whistler isn't last after boxing twice.
Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to be getting Thunderhead back into the race unless someone like Franz and that can find the time to. I mean, Franz got time to pause it in, right? We've got the gap.
He does have the gap, yeah.
Come on, Franz. Don't be boring.
It's got to that point in the race, right, where it's starting to all kind of gap each other, apart from this fight for 8th on track right now, where you've got Siphon, Pantry Star and Sticky all fighting over a similar bit of tarmac, all boxed on different laps. Pantry Star has got the older tyres out of this bunch, and obviously all a bit wide there actually, making a bit of a mistake with a double lockup for the Ferrari.
Here, you got me looking for a move. Has way more battery than Pantry as well. We could see the Red Bull absolutely send it. I think Pantry's got a much better exit out of Stowe.
It's still really weird seeing him go this way around. Still trying to get used to it.
Yeah, I'm finding myself having to think twice before I say any corner name to make sure we're still in the right place.
Yeah, well, I know this one's Cops, so as we're going to get a DRS on the run down to Luffield. And he's going to think about a move. Yes, he is. Down the inside of the Ferrari, thinking twice about it. Has to back out at the final moment. As Sticky almost thinks about making a move on Pantry Star and decides against it in the end. And Siphon's going to want to try and run away here.
It's a really hard spot there to make the move because in the build up to it, you want to, as the attacking car, go to the outside. But try to go to the outside early with that little bit of a kink in the straight. It's so risky that it'll just throw your car into the gravel. You saw Sticky having to almost lift ever so slightly just because his car wanted to fly into a wall. And that was just enough that even though he switched back to the inside for the hairpin, he was just too far back. That tiny hesitation.
Oh, wide there for Siphon. That's a mistake creeping in from the McLaren driver. His teammates having a bit of a disaster down in 19th. And Siphon has the mistakes creeping in on that side of the garage. And that's 2 positions lost there. And he's down into 10th. And now he's going to have to look backwards again. This time to Skull and Trevpa for 11th. And the final spot in the top 10, which isn't the threshold for points as we start to get a penalty come through. This one's for Skull for track limits.
And that prompts me, I'm going to have a look through how are we doing for warnings on our drivers. So,
G3's into the pits, so I'm intrigued to see where he comes out and see whether he's made this overcut work.
This could be the time as well, he could be coming out on those fresh mediums. Him charging through for the next few laps is going to spice things right up.
I think he'll come out here around P6. It's a decent stop for the Mercedes car. And he's going to be on the best set of tyres for the rest of this race, and he can go to the end without a worry of his tyre being slower than the hards, I reckon. So how far ahead will he come? He'll be ahead of his teammates, testament to how well this stint has gone for G3, and he's not far behind Skilly, who is in 4th. So some work to do for G3 to try and make his way up towards the podium here. But I reckon he can do it. This is a bit to look out for as he starts to warm up his tyres to try and chase after Skilly.
Yeah, he's going to be on Skilly within he rode 2 or 3 laps, and then if you can get past the Alpine chasing after Dom Maverick that final podium spot.
This is where the race is. Unfortunately, the race for the lead seems to be oh, yellow flag in sector 3. That was Whistler having another mistake, and he is not having a fun time out there. And he comes in. Oh, big slide into the pits as well. So that's his 3rd trip to the pits now. And as I was saying just before then, the fight for the lead is gone. It's been gone for a while. And now it's all about how far Franz can go up the road, and he's just set the fastest lap of the race, 28.3.
Well, as we start to see our first sets of time penalties coming through for track limits, go through the top 10 for you. Franz currently has 1 warning. Jonas has 1 warning. Gabico is clean with 0 warnings. Billy has 1 warning. We have GMZ on the 1 warning as well. Gunner on 1. 2 actually for Gunner. Got 1 on the last lap. Finally has 3 warnings, but I'm guessing one of those will be a collision warning rather than track limits. Pantry does on 2. And Sticky Nicky is clean. There's a few drivers that are flirting on the limits of picking up track limit warnings.
So I'm just watching G3 try to close the gap ahead to Skilly, and 2.1 as it stands, and he's slowly getting that time down. It's just whether I feel like getting past Skilly is going to happen. It's just getting to Don Rabico is going to be the challenge. I think G3 realistically is looking at 4th here. 3rd might be a little bit too far, but Pantry Star is starting to build a train from 8th all the way down to 11th. And yellow flag in sector 3. That was a McLaren once again. I think that was Whistler once again. Not his day, it has to be said. So, Skilly did lose the position to G3, so I actually, because it's happened so quickly, I think Skilly was the one that made the mistake, not Whistler, so my apologies to Whistler. It was just force of habit, I'm afraid. Yeah, nothing personal. G3, 5 seconds to close into 3rd place, and Sticky Nicky finally gets past Pantry Star, and he can try and look towards Spidicop in 7th.
Don Rabico has suddenly really bumped up the pace. I think Jonas made a few mistakes as well, because he is suddenly within half a second, having looked like he was usually looking over his shoulder, he is suddenly looking at P2 and seeming like he's going to get it.
So what G3 wants here is for these two to fight, because if they fight, they will slow each other down, and that will bring G3 into the fight. And G3, if all goes his way, could be looking at a 2nd place here. Maybe. That might be a push with 6 laps to go in this Grand Prix. But, you know, we've seen stuff like this happen before. And in LSA anything can happen. Except the DNF it seems. We haven't had one in this race. So yeah. 4 seconds G3 needs to close into Don Rabico for a podium. But I'm sure that's going to come down really quickly now. So Thunderhead is back.
Yes, finally managed to get the get connected and get the invite sorted.
What I'll do actually is while I'm here, I have to do it after the race.
Replicas are slightly off that cop, slightly onto the ground. It might just stop him getting the descent into the left field. He looks around the outside. Don't think he's going to be able to get it. That touch to grass just stopping him from making a move.
Speeding in the pit lane, Blade Bryan, 10-second time penalty, and he is retired from the session. So it's all about not having a DNF. Blade Bryan does have a DNF. I don't know if that's load shedding related or what.
Well, are you happy now how you got your DNF that you wanted?
Yeah, not how I wanted it to happen, but I got it. You know. Yeah, hopefully that car doesn't go out onto the track. It shouldn't do because the pit lane's an interesting one here. Although, that being said...
I think it does seem to be.
Oh, it's going to join at the worst place. That's where the racing line kind of goes.
In It's still an EA game, so there will always be weird and wonderful glitches.
Yeah. Anyway, France 13 seconds out front. G3 has closed to only 2 seconds behind the fight for second place, and that is continuing to heat up in these latter stages as we go on to lap 21 of 26 here. And Don Rabico lining up a move here. He's going to get squeezed all the way to the wall here.
Oh, he's going to Norris it.
That was a bit naughty for Jonas, but hard racing is what we love to see. Getting forced out wide around Luffield and onto the hangar straight. This could be a formality for Don Rabico to try and take second place in this race. Jonas did well to get the undercut, but the lap pressure tyres from Rabico could prove to be important as we go into the final sector, which is the first sector, going the other way.
And look at this, GMZ has now joined the party. He is within that DRS range, and Rabico has burnt through his battery to try and get past unsuccessfully, so now each be the one in danger.
6 tenths behind, and G3 comfortably has the best tyres out of this party of 3. So, and maybe he can get a double toe off of one of the DRS zones and could see some 3 wide action happen. But at the moment, we'll look at Don Rabico and Jonas, and maybe on the run towards Chapel down. Is this the Hamilton Straight or the Wellington Straight?
That's the Hamilton Straight.
That's the Hamilton Straight. I know the other one's the Hangar Straight, the one before Luffield. Yeah. No? Maybe.
No,
yes.
it's Hamilton's that. I believe Hangar Straight is one we're going on to now. Going to Carlton Wellington Straight is what is the first straight. But the problem with Rabico's got here, the problem he has is he's absolutely chewing through his battery. He has nothing to fight. He's on 0% battery. Whereas GMZ behind him is on 65%, Jones on 20%. Rabico has the DRS, has the special tyres, but has got no straight line speed.
If you're Whistler here, you've got the best view of this, as they're going to go side by side, nearly on the run. I don't know those corner names. I should probably do some research on them. But 3 cars covered by half a second here. This is what we like to see towards the end of a race. Whistler, nothing to play for here. Just try not to get involved here. And G3 is just going to back off to try and let these 2 fight it out, and then try and pick up the scraps as Don Rabico can't get involved here. Jonas has more ERS, as you said previously. Don Rabico just trying to get it back, and he's going to use some more on the run into Stowe. Can't find a gap there. This is the problem with the reverse track. The overtaking opportunities don't lend themselves to you as they do on the normal circuit layout.
Yeah, the only one is coming out of the top, going down to Luffield. A few minutes, as you saw with Jones, you defend the inside line. It's so hard to get past. We'll see Rabico try it again here, but again, it's that lack of battery. Even though he's in deployment with DRS, he's the slower car.
G3 is going to think about having a go down the inside here into Luffield, and is he going to make the move stick? G3 is going to have the racing line for the next corner. Don Rabico trying to stick it down the inside, but there's contact, and there's massive contact.
Saw that
and
coming.
You can just kind of predict it, and we've got a safety car right at the end here, and G3 and Don Rabico coming together in the fight for the podium places, and G3 will be. Well, we saw that happen live. I think there's only one person the blame can be passed on to there.
I tell you what, he said it was way. Do you know who that safety car is absolutely disastrous for? Franz. He had just gone past the pit lane. Jonas is not pitted. Jonas is not pitted.
Franz has already caught up to the safety car as well.
Exactly. I cannot believe Jonas is not pitted there. Gone for soft tyres.
Don Rabico is going to come in. And Whistler.
Jonas, Skilly and Gunner have potentially just thrown away a race win by not pitting.
I think the problem is we're only going to get 1 lap of racing.
But 1 lap of racing on soft tyres against what's Franz on is going to be fifth, they're going to be on 12, 13 lap hards versus 2 lap on softs. You're not going to win the race in your current situation.
No. Well, it just
I'm
helps fans out.
really, really surprised that none of those guys have pitted, just because you've got nothing to lose. Jonas had the gap to Skilly, so could have pitted and come out still in P2. I am really, really shocked that none of those guys took the gamble. Safety car's in this lap. In this lap. What? Of
Oh,
course.
this game.
It's an F1. Yes, of course you have to have 3 laps.
It's an F1 game. But what it's done, France is going to be fuming. It's just eradicated the gap completely. And then it's just going to come in.
I was going to say, because usually you think about it, yes, usually F1 games say you have to have 3 race laps at the end, but I had a career mode one literally last night where I only got 2 laps at the end, so I thought we were going to get at least 1 more lap of this safety car, but evidently not.
So all we have right now is the top 4 covered. That's all we got.
Yeah, which is
And
more than we
if
thought
you're
we were going to
sticky,
get, but
you're going to be fuming.
yeah.
So France will lead them round. Well, the first 4. So this is a really weird situation. So we've got France, Jonas, Skilly, and Gunner. Which order are these going to finish in? Gunner has the best tyres out of the 4, along with France. So Gunner could at least still try and get a Mercedes on the podium here after G3 crashed out, which caused the safety car in a collision with Don Rabico, and that will obviously be looked at after the session.
Yeah, I think Don Rabico's
crucially, we'll only have 1 lap with DRS. So this is still essentially going to be a last lap shootout for the win here. France crucially gets the 1.5 second gap out front. So it is purely a fight now for P2, and it's going to be either Skilly, Gunner, or Jonas on the final 2 spots of the podium. It's just in what order. Jonas will be very lucky to not have been involved in that incident with Don Rabico and G3MZ.
Yeah, he held up Rabico enough that it invited GMZ into the battle, and well, ended up being an all-out war between the Mercedes and the Kick Sauber. Now we have the
Saw it
battle.
happen live.
Yeah.
Live, obviously we only got 1 look at it. I think that the blame is purely on Don Rabico.
It did look
obviously
like it, yeah, I think.
I need a second look at it to be 100% sure, but initially it did look like Don Rabico's been involved in yet another incident. Gunner going wide, that could ruin his run off of Stowe, but he might have gained it a little bit back. So this is going to purely be now, I think, between Jonas and Skilly for the second spot on the podium. France will be very fortunate that it didn't go the full distance under safety car.
But yeah, if that safety car had come a lap or 2 earlier, then maybe we would have seen more of the. Maybe that's why those guys didn't dive into pit lanes. So I will take back my comments on some of them. I miscalculated how many laps we had, and I forgot how safety cars work on this game. Yes, France just about.
Lamb Royal taking the fastest lap of the race.
We thought it was going to be a bit of bad luck for France. It's going to be just about lucky enough that he holds on to a race win, which we can joke and take the mick out of him getting luck. He has absolutely deserved today. He has not put a foot wrong as he looks to go back to back.
France eking out his championship. Once again, he is inevitable in the league that he created for loads of South Africans to be a part of. In what their circumstances mean they can't really race in other leagues. And France once again goes to the top of the podium. Aston Martin have won both races, and they've both been France. Jonas ahead of Skilly, ahead of Gunner. Another podium for VCarb in this league. Skilly picks up Alpine's first podium, his first podium of the season. He'll be very happy with his racing today. Don Rabico, 10-second unserved penalty, so won't actually fall because of it, which is quite funny. Gunner in 4th, just missing out on the podium there. Then we got 9.5 seconds back to Sticky, who's finished 5th. That's a great result after the woes what happened to Red Bull last round. Siphon in 6th. Trev Parr from last on the grid to 7th. That's a great drive from the house car. Don Rabico in 8th with the penalty, but I'm sure it will be the incident with him G3 will be looked at the end of the race. Pantry starting 9th, they had a spinning got rounds out the top 10. Skull, Japes, Lamb Royal didn't quite catch the rest of it. As points go down to 15th in this league, but G3 will be the one to miss out on what could have been a great day for him. As we see, Franz goes to the top of the podium once again. Oh, I'm bored of that already.
Franz Verstappen takes his second win of the season.
Yeah. Sticky, cleanest driver out there. I think there is a point or something in that for him. I'm not 100% sure, though. I could be wrong. Driver of the day goes to Trev Parr. I have to agree, he put in a great drive to go from the back of the grid to 7th. But I don't think you can look past Franz for driver of the day. He didn't put a single foot wrong. The rest of the classification, Spikes went 14th ahead of Skylar to round out the points. Glitch started up in 7th, had a bit of a disaster. Same with Thunderhead and Whistler, G3 and Blade Bryan. G3 and Blade Bryan not making the finish. So yeah.
Yeah, we thought we were going to get a bit of chaos, and we certainly did. So in our top 7, 3 of our top 7 started 14th or lower. So absolutely climbed their way up. But yes, for me, undoubtedly, I agree. Driver of the day has to go to Franz. Never looked in doubt, controlled it throughout, takes his second win of the season and extends his championship lead.
Yeah, currently a perfect record in races for Franz. He doesn't have both poles, but Aston Martin do. So Aston Martin looking inevitable once again. So next week we have Bahrain, and hopefully that provides some good racing like it usually does in league racing. It's always been one I've always liked to watch and be a part of. Bahrain used to be my happy hunting ground. I think I got my one and only pole in the FR around Bahrain. Yeah. So I'll be excited for that one next week. I'm hoping I have a commentator partner again.
I plan to be there if you're happy back. So
yeah. Yeah. Well, I've got no plans to have another one. So yeah. So we'll catch you next week, providing life doesn't get in the way, like it just does occasionally. Yeah, it's always fun to commentate in this league. Franz making it boring, but yeah, we try to keep it entertaining for you. Yeah, until next time in Bahrain.